Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Civil Discourse on the Student Spin podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Burris. I think we can all agree that in America, we should all equally have the right to free speech. That freedom is given to us in the First Amendment. So when there's an attack on that freedom, we should recognize it as such. Last month, in the assassination of public speaker Charlie Kirk, there were many reactions of celebration. It's baffling to see, and I believe all sides need to recognize that this event was, in execution, an attack on the freedom of speech. To discuss this with me today, I'm joined by a very special guest, the editor-in-chief of the 6 Mile Post newspaper, Anna Crusselle.
Hi, thank you, Stephen, for having me on.
Of course. Would you like to briefly introduce yourself and why freedom of speech is important to you personally?
Sure. So my name is Anna. As Stephen said before, I'm the editor-in-chief of our student-led newspaper here at Georgia Highlands, the 6 Mile Post. And besides that, I'm just a normal, everyday student like you. We both take the digital media degree, which is new at our college here. And I also work 2 jobs, one being the newspaper and one being with my family business. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Just working hard over here.
Well, I'm glad to have you on for this episode.
Yeah. Freedom of speech is important because, especially in today's society, I just think that we've gotten so far away from believing that freedom of speech should be protected, for everyone, not just the people that we agree with on things. And I mean, obviously, we don't want to be living in a society where we're controlled, where our speech is controlled, and there's just a lot to unpack.
And that's kind of the topic we're going to go into today is an attack on this freedom and kind of how we can react to it going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, to summarize for our listeners, Charlie Kirk was a political activist in the Republican Party. In 2012, he helped found a conservative student organization called Turning Point USA, and he served as its executive director. This organization, which currently has chapters at over 800 college campuses, helps to spread awareness and encouragement surrounding free speech in our country. As such, those values and ideals were what Kirk stood for and promoted. Then, on September 10th, 2025, Kirk was assassinated while he was speaking at the Utah Valley University at a TPUSA event. This was a case of a public speaker being killed and their voice being silenced. You would expect the American people to react in a universal way, with this being a case of cold murder. But the reactions that happened were very divisive, and with this type of issue, alarmingly awakening. So, Anna, how would you describe the reactions that you saw amongst the American people and the different sides that arose because of it?
So I was unfortunately, like millions of other people probably, one who saw the video of him actually being shot. And me just sitting there seeing that, was, you react immediately like, what? Like, you just can't even, you can't even like process. It's like, how did that just happen? And I think I have that same question about how I see people react to that, because I cannot imagine being there in person to see that happen. I mean, these are like college students our age, but then also little kids, younger kids who are there present with their parents, and for them to see that, I mean, it's like, how do you think that's going to affect them growing up? And it's just like,
it's still confusing to them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, even the people that I know, who I know personally or whatever, my friends or just whoever, every day in our everyday lives, we have, little disagreements with people, and then we have bigger disagreements with people. But, you don't immediately jump to just disregarding all of your humanity because, that person lost their life. Whatever it was that they were fighting for, or speaking about, or, And I just think that in today's world, seeing those reactions is kind of like a wake-up call. You kind of think like, how and when did our generation kind of turn out like this? You know, when people are reacting and kind of jumping to that sort of moment where they're like, you know, well, I find it kind of hard to find it sad that he died. It's like, you know, everyone has a difference in opinion of what someone, you know, says or continues to say. And I think that him being silenced was like some sort of justification for people who kind of disagreed with the things that he would talk about. And I just can't like understand quite how someone could get to that point. I'll give you an example. I was in the gas station grabbing a snack before work. This was maybe a couple days after Charlie was shot. And as I was checking out, the lady at the counter, she was, you know, talking about it with her coworkers. I overheard her speaking about it. And she kind of said something like, you know, oh, well, that he died. Like, you know, he spoke about gun violence in our country and believed that our country has the right to bear arms, and he died by a gun, you know, so oh well. And it's like,
Just not really having any emotion or heart
right,
in
it's
the
like,
reacting to it.
yeah, I just can't quite understand, because when I heard that, it's just kind of like you're taken aback, you know, by someone. Plus, it was her place of work, and she was, you know, on the job, and it's like,
And that wasn't even like a personal conversation in
right,
the home. Like anyone could hear that in the workplace.
exactly. If I could hear it, you know, I'm sure other people could as well. And it's just sort of things like that, you know, there's plenty of people in this life that I, you know, disagree with the kinds of things that they say. But I'm not over here celebrating or, you know, finding it hard to find it sad that they lost their life. And we're also not here to tell people, you know, who to be sad about or not, but
That's part of that freedom. Like
exactly.
there's different sides. You can be on this side or this side. But
Yep.
attacking one side through violence is just,
Yeah.
it's against the morals that our country was founded on.
Right.
So as American citizens, we can choose whether to support someone or not. But that person does have freedom to speak their beliefs.
Exactly.
So Kirk's assassination, it was more than just a man dying. So people who celebrate it, they're celebrating an attack on the freedom of speech. So I think it's also important to not go to the extremist sides of either position on the issue. Because
Yeah.
like some people, we need to be careful not to like idolize Charlie Kirk. Like the people who are for him need to not make it out as if he was a perfect man.
Right.
Because he,
It's just human. We're all human.
yeah, like you
We
can,
all grow and change. And some of the things that we said in our lifetime before we were at a new step of growth, like we regret that, you know? We wouldn't say it again. It's like, I don't know. It's just the same with like the Trump administration. It's like, you know, things that were promised before, we have to kind of just be patient and like adapt to the kind of society that we're in right now that is just chaotic. And, you know, we all have an opinion on things. But like you said, this conversation isn't just about one man being killed. It's, you know, about what his death represents, which is an attack on the freedom of speech.
because
You
this
know,
this has happened throughout history. Martin Luther King,
Exactly.
Abraham Lincoln. Like this is not a first.
this is just an example of many people behind Charlie who stood for, you know, some of the same things.
So I think it's important to just make that note in discussing this issue. It's about the freedom of speech attack, because this isn't a new thing. This has been happening all throughout our country's history.
Right.
So in the aftermath of this tragedy, we see all these divisive responses. So because these responses happened, we can't go back and change it. Seeing these extreme sides on both ends, how do you think America should respond going forward in like dealing with this And should something like this happen again, how could we maybe be better prepared in how to handle it?
You know, Charlie once said that when conversation stops, violence happens. And we could really get into a lot more here about, well, if you've seen the news, you've probably seen that the bullet casings had certain things written on them. One was, "Hey, fascist." And, a fascist is someone who silences someone that they disagree with, right? And Charlie gave a microphone to those people. And, people from all over came to hear Charlie speak. And because they wanted to be there, because they wanted to hear what he had to say about certain things. The table that he set up, that was, his infamous like debate table. That's all the TikTok videos that you see, which I hope you're not getting all of your information just from little clips on TikTok.
Yes.
But yeah, if you see that, that's like where he's sitting at the debate table and people can come up and ask him a question and he'll talk with them about it. So I just, the irony is like crazy there. And with how we could move forward, I think, as a society is like we could just remember that to the people who jump to celebrate, when someone else is silenced for what they believe in, my question to those people would be, what makes you so much, of this better person to kind of not have any sort of empathy or, just like basic human decency of recognizing that this is an incredible tragedy.
Like, what are you getting out of this?
Exactly. Why do you feel the need to feel that way? I just can't, I can't quite understand. But, we'd be asking that question over and over and over again. And
because I have friends on both sides, and I have friends on like the side who didn't support him, but they were saying in the aftermath, like, I don't agree with him, but I hope his family finds peace. So because this happened, you don't have to change sides and suddenly agree with him.
Yeah.
You can still keep your opinion.
Exactly. Stand firm in what you believe in. That's something that Charlie has also just said, left a message behind of that, I feel like.
Because I think principles of morality are outside of a person's beliefs or someone's opinions. Like, you can have two different sides of an issue, and one of the issues that I think America has is they're losing grounding in morality.
Yeah.
So they don't see anything wrong with it. I don't know if that's maybe
it's like just a complete disregard of like just any sort of reaction or like human emotion besides just like oh well, move on. Like,
well, society nowadays is so like involved in instant gratification for anything. Like, there's no patience or like waiting about something. If something happens, people just want to get right there into the middle of it.
That's very
give
true.
Their piece. And so I think it's always good to think before you speak. And maybe one of the cases here is people just speak before they think. So do you have any other points or notes you want to make about this from your perspective of it all?
I don't want to live in a country where people are afraid to speak because of how someone might react. That's what these horrible murders and tragedies are teaching the young children. Like, we at the end of the day have to think about what kind of, generation and like society we're leaving behind for our future kids. And it's just like, that's what we really should be thinking about.
If we're the example, then we need to be setting that good example, because whatever the children and the young generation see, they're going to mimic and copy what they see their parents or their like heroes are doing.
Right.
And so if those people that they admire are behaving wrongly, then what's to keep them from following in their footsteps?
Yeah. I think that we need to start getting back to seeing each other as human beings at the end of the day. Think about all of the people that you just have a disagreement with in your life. And it's like, that is what Charlie's entire political career was just shrunk into. It was just like what you can agree or disagree on. It's what happens in so many situations with these, people with large platforms. You say one thing that people disagree with, and the whole like half of the world is trying to break you down and just not let you get back up. And like, we all make mistakes, we all say things, but someone's entire life, the value of their humanity is not, it's just not shrunk down to why someone should lose their life. And the person who shot Charlie, whoever it was a coward. I mean, he murdered someone who had no idea that was coming, had no way to protect himself or even say goodbye to his family, or I can't.
It's hard to just imagine.
I can't understand.
When you think about it, you just don't know what to think.
Yeah.
And it can be so easy to sort of just blanket coat like a political party and not remember these parties are made up of human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just this vague, like non-human entity.
Yeah.
There's people within that.
Yeah.
So I think it's always important to remember that.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Any other final thoughts? Or
there's an interest meeting for a chapter of Turning Point USA that's being started at Georgia Highlands. There's an Instagram page, TPUSA_GHC. I always liked this quote. It's by Mike someone. I forget his last name, but I found this in the Bitter Southerner magazine that I read. It says, "We should be speaking with people who we don't agree with. I'm not trying to win an argument. I'm trying to understand. We're really going for understanding, and understanding is an absence of ego. It doesn't mean you have to agree with the person that you're disagreeing with, but you start to understand their perspective." And that's like such a life motto,
It's the civil discourse debating.
It is. It's what should be allowed without people just going off the rails and just like attacking people, It shows quite a level of immaturity and emotional weakness in our society. And I'm sorry, but that's just the truth of it.
Well,
and it's sad.
Imagine like a toddler wanting something. Normally, being a toddler, they would like fight and cry and scream to get their way.
Yeah.
And so in a way, like,
that's what adults are acting like.
Yeah, if someone doesn't get their way, instead of wanting to talk about it and discuss it, they just jump to an extreme and they're like screaming about it.
Yeah.
In a way.
It's not to get to a point of agreement either. It's just about sharing perspectives, and, you grow from that. I don't know.
It's exercising that freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today, Anna. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you to everyone for tuning in to this episode of Civil Discourse on the Student Spin podcast. I've been your host, Stephen Burris, and I hope you all have a very wonderful day. We will see you next time.